Hello everybody, Happy New Year and welcome to my channel, The Real Super Sam. Today is their top 5 stories video and I hope you enjoy. Today is the first day of 2019, 365 more days until the 2020s. Happy New Year, and for the first video of 2019, I'm going to be looking at an underrated Spider-Man villain. Molten Man, also known as Mark Raxon, debuted early in Spider-Man comics in issue 28, the issue Peter Parker graduated high school in. Molten Man is also Liz Allen's stepbrother, and Liz Allen is married to Harry Osborn, so he has deep ties to the Osborn family. Molten Man has been a villain and a reluctant hero throughout the years. I'm making a top 5 stories list. 1. Because it's New Year's Day and top 5 lists do the best on my channel right now, and Molten Man deserves exposure to all the good stories he's in. Molten Man has only been in one supervillain group. That wasn't going to make this list, even if I did count team-up stories. With that said, let's dig deep into one of my favorite underrated Spider-Man rogues, Molten Man. Number 5. Mind on Fire. Amazing Spider-Man issues 581 and 582 had Molten Man return to villainy, but also changed him forever. Harry Osborn calls Peter Parker and invites him on a road trip to see Harry's wife and kid. We see at Liz Allen's house there is a secret room that is holding the Molten Man as they wait for a cure to be discovered for him. When Harry returns to the house, Molten Man hears this and breaks out thanks to his rage. Because Peter did come with Harry, he changes into Spider-Man and saves the Allens from Molten Man. This is on the list for the history of the Molten Man and the Osborn family. It comes together for this story, and the fight at the end is really good. Molten Man in this issue has definitely become a freak show and was the most dangerous he'd ever been. Spider-Man at the end gets Molten Man stuck in the sticky asphalt he created with his heat, and this keeps Mark down long enough for Harry Osborn to give Spider-Man a gadget to zap him with. This cures Mark Raxon of his condition, and in comics for now, it looks like permanently. This story had amazing artwork and a lot of great jokes. Seeing the Molten Man return for a pretty good send-off ending was a nice story to read, especially for him. Number 4. All That Glitters. Web of Spider-Man issue 62 showed us the return of the classic non-fiery Molten Man. Molten Man has just got released from prison and is now living a normal day-to-day life. But Mark still has a bit of an anger problem. It starts when the cops are harassing him because he's a superpowered thief that just got out of prison who is paroled. Peter hears from Liz that Mark is heading to her apartment, and we see that this is the last time Molten Man was seen was in Spectacular Spider-Man issue 63 when he was thrown in the swimming pool and stopped burning, but that was a long time ago. When Molten Man gets to Liz Allen's apartment, Spidey is there to greet him. Of course, Spider-Man being his quippy self sets Molten Man off to attack. The ending does wrap up fast. From Spider-Man defeating Molten Man in the fight, we cut to this panel where Mark is getting hired by Harry, so this was really just an issue for Spider-Man to fight the Molten Man, but I liked it. It also seems like Mark will stop losing his temper. Molten Man is a foe who I feel deserves a happy ending, and here I think he's got a good one. Number 3. Friends and Enemies. Web of Spider-Man issue 66 shows Molten Man being a superhero for the very first time. We see Molten Man now has a job at an Oscorp chemical plant thanks to Harry. Now Molten Man is lying low, keeping his nose clean. That is, until Tombstone grabs Molten Man and tells him there's going to be a break-in to the Oscorp plant he works at for the new chemical Diox 3, all for Tombstone's boss, Hammerhead. If Mark doesn't help, Tombstone will frame Mark with the robbery. Molten Man decides to ask Spidey for help. Now with Spider-Man's help, Molten Man is going to double-cross Tombstone. This story has the two top underrated Spider-Man rogues, Molten Man and Tombstone. I love how the colors are put on in this issue, and the action is fantastic, especially with Tombstone's gang henchmen. We see Mark come from the ability to be a villain and work with Tombstone to becoming a hero and fighting with Spider-Man. There's something else with the Green Goblin too in this story, but Molten Man really is the star. This shows Molten Man completely changing his ways for the common good and leaving his criminal life behind. Number 2. The Master Plan of the Molten Man Breaks Out. A 2-issue story in Amazing Spider-Man issue 132 and 133, this showed the start at the end of the Molten Man. Surprising robberies have been going on lately, and it looks like the guy uses heat as a weapon. Molten Man is back. He is wearing a disguise to hide his shiny skin from the public, just like his last appearance in the Amazing Spider-Man issue 35. Obviously now, Molten Man has been committing these robberies, and for what? Mark is trying to recreate the alloy that covered his skin, so he can fix himself from melting to death. Molten Man reveals that he has evolved. He can burn through objects just by touching them. He is stronger than ever. This story showed Molten Man turning into the fiery foe he soon becomes. And at the end, Mark, completely on fire at the time, jumps into the river, apparently dying. This was a great story that brought back Liz Allen and connected her to the Molten Man. The temper that Molten Man has is here too, and is perfectly written. The fighting was on point. I love the way Spider-Man has to stay away from Molten Man's heat, and Spidey's webbing won't stick on Mark. There is still one better story than this one, but this issue was a great read for Molten Man, and a sort of prequel to the #1 best. And now for the greatest Molten Man story of all time. #1, If You Can't Stand the Heat. A one-shot published in Amazing Spider-Man issue 173, October 10, 1977. This was treated as the death of the Molten Man. For me, this was easily #1. This was my introduction to the Molten Man. It is a great story which shows different sides of Molten Man. Molten Man returns, seemingly from the grave, and threatens a girl who works in a hospital to try to cure him. And it works. Fastly, Molten Man becomes Mark Raxon once more. But as soon as he was cured, he turns back into burning as the Molten Man, and now it seems like nothing can help him. So Mark decides he wants to talk to his stepsister one last time, Liz Allen, and she agrees. Molten Man says that he's dying. There's no hope for him now, and he called Liz because he doesn't want to die alone. Spider-Man snuck in behind Liz to see the commotion between the two. Now he's there to save her. Molten Man, I would say, here is him at his strongest, and Spider-Man surprisingly is in one of the battles for his life. In the climax, Liz is trying to leave. She must leave now or she'll burn. So, at the edge of the building floor, which is outside now, Molten Man flips out at the end of his line, chasing her off. Spider-Man jumps in and saves her, and Molten Man, as one of the hottest men in the universe right then, blows, and the building comes down on him, seemingly killing him for real now. This is the first time ever we see Mark Raxon act like a normal, rational man. He seems like a generally nice dude when he's not burning to death, and I like that about him. And it's fitting it showed in his death story to show us some more sympathy towards him in the end. This made Molten Man more emotional, and this story is the most interesting with him. He is almost like a Batman villain, I feel. A man on the edge, at the end of his road, a super powerful foe compared to the hero. This has to be the great story for Molten Man, and I'm glad it was the first one to read for him. This, to me, is the ultimate Molten Man story. It had all the elements that make him a good Spider-Man rogue. As you saw, a lot of these times Molten Man appeared, they could have easily been summed up as a classic hero versus villain fight. But what's wrong with that, especially looking back at stories for a lesser-known Spidey foe? A reason I made this list was, man, Molten Man is such a cool-looking villain, and can really have some great action shots. I don't think Molten Man has been close to getting the attention he deserves. He has a great history, a great look, and when he is on fire, some great powers. And being a Spider-Man role created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, I can see it happening. This was the top 5 Molten Man stories of all time. Thank you all for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And Happy New Year 2019. Bye guys, and have a good day.